You're listening to the Royal Rant. I'm Ryan.
No, I'm Tim.
We're going to talk about the Los Angeles Kings. Boy, where to begin, huh? Our last spot, we were talking about the Four Nations.
That's right.
Kings come back, and let's just call a spade a spade. They just sucked for a while. So there's been a bit of a roller coaster.
Definitely.
It felt like, and maybe some fact checkers, it felt like they lost to the Blues 8 straight games. But I guess it probably wasn't 8. I guess it was 2.
And I guess in reality, yeah, they won one.
They won one.
Yeah, but yeah, just horrible.
What have we seen since then? We've kind of seen a Quinton field that seems like he can shoot the puck now all of a sudden.
Yeah, his shot seems so much better than it was just like, I don't know. And especially before the break for the Four Nations, like, he couldn't even get it on net. And now he's just knifing the top corner.
He'd have these chances, he'd shoot it wide, then he kind of narrowed it a bit, and then he just started clanging off the post.
Mm-hmm.
Bells were just ringing out like on Christmas Day with that guy for a while. Lately, and I believe he's scored in 4 straight games. Isn't that right?
I don't know if it's 4. I think it's 3.
3, okay.
Maybe it is.
And he had that nice goal, shorthanded just the other night.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, so I mean that's a good thing, right? Because that was one of the dynamics that was missing from his game that we talked about many times on this very podcast.
Mm-hmm.
No question about the speed. The speed's there, It's pretty much the fastest guy in the Kings. I was looking at that NHL Edge site, and he's had faster speed bursts this season than Kempe. I think Kempe kind of goes as like the fastest guy.
Mm-hmm.
Q's faster.
Yeah, it seems that way too, like out on the ice.
And so, yeah, I mean, he'll probably always kind of be more of a passer than a shooter, but that shot has come a long ways.
Yeah, especially from last season to now, and then it was bad for a while again, and it's cool to have it back. I hope he shoots more.
I think that could be something that the whole team could benefit from, because they've been better about that lately, but there was that period, and it kind of coincided with the end of February where they were losing, just overpassing to death,
Yeah, and that's kind of, that's why the power play is so bad too. I mean,
and Byfield scored a goal. I forget which game that was, but I was thinking, don't pass, because there was somebody on the wing, and he shot and scored, and I was like, yes, this is what we need.
Mm-hmm.
We need everybody to be more like Fiala and just to shoot from every angle possible, whenever possible.
Yeah, that should be a team philosophy. It's just shoot. And that was cool too, because I know what you're talking about. That puck, was that in the Vegas game? And I think it was just it was like standing up too, and he let it go. And that was cool.
Yeah, that Vegas game. I mean, that was, and I guess we have to talk about that. They beat them 3 times.
Yeah. And it's so incredible, right? Because how many times this season and last season too, we're like, oh well, they should be Chicago, no problem. And then they never show up. It's just this weird thing. Like I don't know if they can't. That's for that stretch when they're like struggling with St. Louis and Chicago, and I can't even remember like who they played before. Was it Vancouver? And they were lucky they got a point in that, or maybe. And I'm probably missing some games. And they just look like so exhausted and like out of it. And I'm like, are these dudes even going to make the playoffs? Because they just seem like so, just so out of it. And before they would find ways to, come back in games, and, they had like this resiliency, and it's just like, man, I don't know what happened.
You're not the only one. Eddie Garcia on Locked In Kings. I think he was even shaken by that bad stretch there, because he's used to getting hysterical emails from Kings fans, for his Friday show, and he's kind of like, okay, guys, everybody relax. I'm not ready to go there. But when they went on that little stretch where they were 0-3-2 or something whack like that, I think even he was like, okay,
well, yeah, because
I'm getting a little concerned.
They look so ineffective, and they just look like such an exhausted team. I was like, dude, can these guys even, put some wins together to make the playoffs? Because,
Well, I mean, okay, look, they've got 77 points with 19 to play. So, I mean, and this will probably be setting off one of the ultimate jinxes of all times here, but they'd really have to go into the tank to miss the playoffs at this point. Right?
Yeah, no, exactly.
There's 7, But no, yeah, I think a lot of people thought, they were like, well, you know what? If this funk goes another week or two,
Yeah, exactly.
the way they looked, it's like, well,
Yeah.
if this doesn't get sorted out like fast,
Mm.
yeah. But they're like 7 points clear of Calgary, and Calgary and Vancouver are playing right now. I'm not sure what the score is, but so one of those teams could be maybe 5 out, 5 behind the Kings, or 7, or whoever wins that. So I mean, but they're only a point behind Edmonton. They still have a game in hand, and they play them twice in April.
It'd
I
be
think
cool.
April 5th and the 14th. So 5th is in LA and the 14th is in Edmonton.
It'd be
So I
so
mean,
cool.
those are important games. They could take second.
And that would be so cool, if they could have home ice advantage, for once in that series against Edmonton. Since they have the best home record in the league, so it's like these
I mean,
teams.
I still have a hard time getting super pumped on a team that's like 13, 17, and 5 on the road.
Yeah,
Because
I guess that's the downside too, right? But I mean,
because when I go on my little research rabbit hole, sometimes I've been trying to find a Stanley Cup winning team that was under 500 on the road. I haven't found one. Going back the last 25 years, I mean, maybe the 1926 Montreal Canadiens. I don't, but it's not great. They probably still have just enough road games left to maybe hit 500.
500, yeah.
And also, when you look back at teams that, when you look at their regular season power play Stanley Cup winning teams,
Mm-hmm.
they're usually not anywhere near where the Kings are right now in terms of power play percentage.
Yeah, I mean that has to be sorted out. It's just the same thing. They pass too much. They don't shoot enough. They don't skate either to try to like draw guys out of position and stuff. It's just
Yeah, I think I saw somebody was talking about that somewhere, about how part of the problem is guys who don't have the puck aren't skating enough to get open.
It's exactly right, because you see like all 4 defenders on they're basically in the same spot because the Kings are in the same spot. So it's like you have the extra man, you want to create space, but they're all like huddled up together. It doesn't make any
But
sense.
luckily for us, the Kings were like, we have the worst power play in the league. And then the Islanders came in and they were like, hold my beer, bro.
I know, it's like
You want to see a terrible power play? Watch this.
yeah, that was cool. They went 0 for 8 on the power play last night.
God, they're still pissed off about that. And, they got those 2 goals taken away, which, there are eras of this game where those goals would have totally stood up.
Yeah.
And now, and it does seem to change every year. Like as someone who's been following the game for like 40 plus years, still don't really know what goalie interference is.
Well, yeah,
It's kind of like traveling in the NBA. I really don't know. Guys seem to take 6 steps with the ball without dribbling, but
yeah, that's
goalie interference in the NHL is the same thing for me.
Yeah, and I think it just depends like who's reviewing it, right? It must be just like a different guy every time.
So maybe Will Ferrell was reviewing those last night. They might have just sent the feed to him on his cell phone when he was sitting there.
He's like, no good.
Good goal.
It interfered with for sure.
2 minutes delay a game. I mean, it's been a moving target because, in the 90s, they made it to where like if you had like 1 centimeter of your skate in the blue paint, it was goalie interference. You remember those days?
Yeah,
Most of the review was just like, let's see, it's a guy's skate blade. Is it in the blue or not? Right?
Yeah, I remember.
Then they were like, that's too extreme because you're taking away. There's no play around the net anymore. So it makes it a different game. And it seems like yeah, go ahead.
Do you remember before, like, you couldn't make the kicking motion, for the puck? And then it would just be like guys would crash the crease and just it looked like soccer all of a sudden, where dudes are just like kicking like crazy and defensemen are trying to like kick the puck out and just look nuts.
But even with that, they kind of had to adjust that too, because for a while it seemed like if it went off a skate, they would disallow it, even if there wasn't a kicking motion.
Yeah,
there was that period. And now I think they've got that finally sorted. Like, if you're just skating towards the net and the puck just bounces off your skate, there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
Or even to the point where they'll allow it. Like if you kick the puck over to somebody off your skate, they can shoot it in. That's a good goal. Or
yeah, I saw somebody
you
do
can
something
kick
like
it.
that.
You can kick it to your stick and shoot and score, and it's good. But so I think they've got that sorted out. I don't know. I mean, I guess that first one, the guy basically was kind of skated Kemper's glove out of the crease. Like he was trying to cover the puck, and he kind of prevented that from happening. It's kind of like the second one where it was kind of like I could have seen them just maybe allowing that one.
Yeah, it just.
But obviously, if you're an Islanders fan, you're probably very pissed off about that game.
Yeah, and they were. I mean, the Kings were lucky. I mean, Kemper was just, he was on it last night. That game could have been different.
They probably should have lost that game. I mean, the chances they were giving up and the amount of like ice that was available, the Islanders, they seem to be just skating straight to the Kings net like that whole game.
Yeah, it was a weird game because the score didn't reflect it at all. I mean, I'm glad the Kings won, but it was.
Yeah, I mean, you hope that you deserve to get a few of those sometimes.
Yeah, those just happen in a season, right?
And sometimes it's the other way around where, the Kings pretty much outplay someone and they don't get the breaks and don't come away with any points. The fact that Byfield had that breakaway was, because that Islander stick broke.
Yeah.
That's kind
just
of
bad luck.
Now, he was probably counting on Byfield just shooting that 5 feet over the net like he normally does. But right now he's not doing that. And I can encourage him to continue to not do that because they had that stretch. And that kind of was in that stretch where they were losing. Do you remember they had 2-on-0s? Yeah. Overtime breakaways. I think that was against the Canucks, maybe. More than one. I think they had they had a breakaway in OT. They had a power play in overtime. And
it couldn't do anything. Looked awful. Yeah.
That's just unforgivable.
Yeah.
If you get power play in overtime, that should be game over.
Yeah, exactly. I just think I don't know. It's like you wonder, do you guys practice odd man rushes? It doesn't seem like it. You think they would practice that, right? I don't know.
Well, if they practice it, they practice shooting it over the net as opposed to making the goalie make a save at least. Practice making the goalie make a save at least if you're going to do that. But, yeah, it's just been kind of an up and down season with these guys. What do you think about Andrei Kuzmenko?
He seems cool. I mean, I didn't notice him as much last night, but in the Vegas game, he was making some cool passes and
counterpoint.
What was that?
0 goals and 0 assists.
Well,
3 games.
Well,
actually, no. He got burned because in that first game, he put a puck right on Kempe's tape that he should have scored. And I think also Kopi, right?
And he hit the crossbar. And it was just.
Now that was sweet because he was in tight and he had the hands to get that shot away. And he clanked it. That was a nice look at okay, this guy's got some hands, right? Like when he scored 39 goals with the Canucks, it wasn't just by accident, right?
Yeah. No, he definitely has skill for sure.
But what's kind of cool though is that it allows them to shift the lines around a little bit. Turcotte, everybody likes that kid for what he's gone through to stick in the league. I looked, he has 2 points in his last 15 games.
Yeah, he's been real quiet lately.
Playing with Kopi and Kempe, right? And, you can't really have that on the first line, can you? A dude that has 2 points in 15 games.
The Kings seem to like to have a left winger on the first line who doesn't score. I mean, that's kind of like a Kings tradition over the last 6 seasons. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't think it's good, but I don't. Part of it too, because he does have. He is a skilled guy. I mean, I could see him. Being a third line dude or maybe even a second line guy. But I wonder sometimes. Go ahead. Playing with Kopitar and Kempe is just not the right mix for him,
Yeah, Zach Dooley, the insider, wrote a thing today about how I think he talked to Turcotte and he doesn't care about being on the fourth line. He just wants to play and help the team win, And I think he even was quoted as saying that maybe he looked to like overpass, or he tried to get the puck to Kope and Kempe too much, and maybe didn't try to create things for himself. And he's still only 22, right?
Yeah, he looked
So,
like just a kid.
but what's cool is, and see, I'm a big Sammy Helenius guy.
Yeah, me too.
I remember when we were at that rookie camp,
Yeah.
and I remember, well, I don't know, but I like this guy's size. Don't know about his skating but to me, it looks like his skating has come a long ways. He seems to be able to get where he needs to go, and usually where he ends up getting is he ends up checking a dude into the boards.
Yeah,
which I'm a big fan of.
No, me too.
And that, I think, like, that could be a cool fourth line.
Yeah, I think so.
And, obviously the fans have kind of been giving Trevor Lewis a bunch of crap and stuff.
Yeah.
But, their record, I think they're like 10-2 or something when Lewis isn't playing. So I think it's time. I mean, he's probably not happy about it, but I'm sure he also just wants them to win too. So
yeah, and I mean, he's who you want out there. Lewis, he has a ton of experience. He's not really going to do anything stupid, but I don't know, he took some dumb penalties, the last few games before they started seeding him. So I don't know. I don't understand.
I mean, well,
as far as being loyal to players and stuff, but I mean, I think, if you want to, like, contend in the playoffs and you want to put like the best team out there you have, like, I don't see playing him when you can give other guys a chance.
Well, I mean, being able to roll 4 lines, I mean, that's kind of what every team wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the teams, when the Kings won the Stanley Cups, they could do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of decision that has to be made. It's like, what personnel gives you the best chance to win? And I think having Helenius in there, it's just a better look, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a complete liability. I mean, he'll go to the net.
Yeah.
He can score a goal. He can get a crash to the net. It's not like he's just completely hopeless offensively,
Yeah.
But they can sustain a forecheck. They can get a grind going. And I think mostly the fourth line with this year, they weren't doing that. They were more like stuck in LA zone trying to get out.
Yeah. I'm sure when he comes out on the ice, people got their head up, like watching out for him, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I guess people were they were giving him crap because when he had that scrap in Vegas, they were up 3-0 and kind of you tend not to. But I mean,
I thought that was so stupid. Like, I really, when Foxy was commenting on it, I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like, Thomas Hurdle is not going to score on us. Are you kidding me? It's like,
Thomas Hurdle has scored 27 goals against the team.
Yeah, Helenius getting to the scrap. That's what caused that. Please, come on, man. You know what I mean?
What caused it is Vegas for having a lot of talent. I mean, honestly, but I guess if you're more seasoned as a scrapper, you can maybe try to pick your spots better, maybe. But I mean,
yeah, I thought that was.
I don't know. It should. Why doesn't that? You could look at it the other way. It's like, why doesn't it fire up the Kings to get a fourth goal?
That's what I was just about to say. Like, wouldn't that fire up the Kings as well? Like,
Yeah.
And also, like, remember back in the days, I mean, well, the Kings, they would be down in a game and get into a scrap and still not win or come back. I mean, it's that, I wonder, like, what the stat on that, I mean, I'm sure no one keeps, like, records of that, but I mean, I don't think it made a huge impact at all, I think it's kind of a cop-out.
No, I don't know why Hiller does that kind of stuff. Like, he kind of will just pick on Clark for something. No, I don't. I think he's still got ice after that.
No, that's right. He didn't play Clark after he fumbled that puck, right? That led to that.
But it's also like,
led to that goal.
How about that awesome goal he scored though against Vegas?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, who else? And like, I think Austin Stanowich tweeted about, like, well, who from the blue line and the Kings would have been able to do that? And you're like, nobody. Edmondson, Gavrikov, Doughty, no.
Mm-mm.
That was just an elite play by a kid who just has that offensive gift,
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have, you should just try to foster that and encourage it. And
no, I agree. And it's like, maybe he would have knocked that stuff off if you'd actually play him, like, frequently, maybe you would have learned that.
And I was thinking the other day about, that game where they had him take some shifts at forward. And I'm just, I'm thinking, what's the rationale for that? I have a feeling that it was kind of like the coaches being like, oh yeah, you think you're a forward? Fine, we're going to have you play a few shifts at forward. Is that the way to read it?
I could see that.
Like, oh, you want to make plays like a forward? You don't think you're a defenseman? Here, take some shifts. I mean, is that what that was about? I don't know, but it's like he's the most exciting. And I know you're not supposed to mention this guy's name. He's like Voldemort. Slava Voinov. He was the last Kings defenseman to have those kind of offensive skills. To figure out when, like, oh, I can come off the blue line and come in here and score. It's not like everybody has that, because if they did, everybody would do it. But they haven't had a guy since Voinov, and now they do.
Yeah, and a lot of teams don't have guys like that.
Exactly. So it's going to be really telling to see like what they end up doing, let alone the whole trade talk, even though Blake kind of made it sound like they never really were listening on Clark, but who knows?
Yeah. Were you surprised that they were going after Rantanen so hard?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of smoke there in terms of Kings being in there. I'm thinking, well, who could they have offered for Rantanen? It must have been Byfield or Clark.
Yeah.
That's who could have? I mean, who would have? Who to get a guy like that, it wasn't going to be like Turcotte and a couple of picks, right? So they must have been listening on, and probably a GM should listen on everybody anyway. But I'm glad they didn't unload Clark.
Me too.
On the other hand, it's kind of like, I think Rantanen didn't want to sign in LA. And since the trade deadline, there's been reports that, he only had like 4 teams he wanted to go to. And even Carolina is basically saying like he came in right away and was like, I'm not signing with you guys, which I don't know if that's true or if that's just a rumor or what. But
that whole situation is so weird that he left Colorado and then was like, I'm not going to sign with you guys. And then he said something too, like he would have stayed at Colorado and taken less money. It's just weird.
Yeah. Elliot Friedman, the Sportsnet guy who's in on all this stuff, he was talking about that on his podcast about he seemed to think that, Rantanen kind of decided he would take a certain amount of money, but he didn't maybe say it right away. And that maybe management took it as like, okay, you know what? We can't take a chance on this guy. He might bolt. So, but it made it seem like Rantanen was shell-shocked by the trade. And he probably right from the outset was just kind of like, he's probably just pissed that he ended up in Carolina and just decided, I don't want to stay here. And then now he ends up back in the Central with Dallas. And that's, and Ray Ferraro, he was talking about in the podcast he does with Darren Drager about how, he talked to a GM and the GM was saying, that whole thing about don't trade within your division, I don't give a crap about that. We only play those guys 4 times. I'm worried about the 76 other games in the season. And I thought that was kind of interesting because, everybody's like, oh, you know what? Vancouver doesn't want to trade Brock Besser to the Kings. They're in the division. And then you think, well, actually, it's just 4 games. So you can get the best player. Why? It's probably the right mentality. It's like, who cares if we only play these guys 4 times? I get Rantanen and he kills 76 games against other teams. Like, who cares, right? And so, in kind of the idea that you can't really control where a guy ends up. It was kind of like when the Kings traded Martin Jones to Boston, and then they immediately flipped him to San Jose, right? Because I got to get this guy in the Eastern Conference. Well, surprise, Rantanen was in the Eastern Conference. Now he's back in the Central. And if Colorado and the Stars, if they're going to end up playing in the playoffs at some point, and it's be just insane. Because Colorado, they beefed up. They got Brock Nelson. They got, who was it, Charlie Coyle from Boston. They've beefed up big time. The Stars were already badass, and then they add Rantanen. It's like, getting out of the Central is going to be like, I don't know, getting like 3 root canals in the same day or something.
Why do you think he didn't want to come to LA?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really get, because that's what I was wondering about. Like, why isn't LA a destination for people? Because in the other major sports teams, it is. You got like LeBron with the Lakers, you got Shohei and all these guys that the Dodgers have added over the last few years. And you just wonder, like, why. And I wonder how much of it has to do with the way the Kings play.
I think that's it. Yeah. I think he feels like it would hurt his game,
Or if it's the fact that, they've lost, they haven't made it out of the first round in 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a chance to go to the Stars, they're gone to they've gone to a couple of Western Conference finals recently.
Yeah.
So they look like they're on the cusp of doing it. But I wonder if it's just, if there's a rep in LA that just play boring hockey and it's too much defense and guys are like, I don't want to do that.
Do you remember when the Kings played Colorado in Colorado, that outdoor stadium game? It was like in 2020, and Toffoli scored that hat trick, and then they traded him I want to say like that week or the week after he was gone. But I watched I remember they had it mic'd up, like they had Doughty mic'd up, so I went on YouTube and watched it again, just the mic'd up highlights, and it's so hilarious. He's just chirping people, and it's funny. But there's a part where Landeskog is chirping Todd, and he's like, "Hey, are you gonna play fucking hockey, or are you just gonna dump it in all night, Todd?" And I think that's kind of the Kings' reputation still. It's just like they just try to kill the game, and then it's also hilarious too because Downey's he's on the bench, and I can't remember who he's talking to, and he's like, "Man, why does this team have so many pretty good players?" And he's like, "Who's that 96? Who's Radnan?" And then he's like, "Who is that guy?" And then he's out there on the ice with them later, and he's like, "Dude, you have the skinniest legs in the league." To Ratnan, he's like, "What's up with your legs?" So I think that's why Ratnan didn't come. He remembered those hurtful comments that Doughty said about his legs, and he remembers Landeskog.
So this is all juice because he body shamed Mikko Rantanen 5 years ago.
Yeah, and it was funny. Ratnan said something too, like, "No, it's just the shin pads." He said something like that.
He felt like he had to justify, like, "No, man, just these shin pads make me look skinny." But
no, but I think that's it. I think the Kings have a reputation of just playing really well. I mean, they do. They just play defense first, really tight checking. Don't do anything fancy.
That's cool, and it kind of worked in the past. But at some point, it's also like, well, it hasn't. They haven't won a playoff round since 2014. So, does it really work to to play that style? I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't think so.
Do you think they can beat the Oilers? Big question. In a month from now, basically, 5 weeks from now, can they beat the Oilers?
Oh, man. It's like I feel it's weird because in some ways I feel more confident about their chances, and maybe it would help if they started off at home. I mean, you think it would, but I don't know. This team has been so inconsistent that it's hard for me. And we talk about how bad the power play is. It's hard for me to see, McDavid and Draisaitl not showing up big in those games and taking over. I don't know. I feel like their chances, I don't know. I was going to say better than last year, but are they really?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Because the Oilers, they did make it all the way to Game 7 in the finals. I mean, but I don't know. McDavid doesn't look the same to me right now.
Yeah, well, he's turned into more he's not scoring the amount of goals he normally does.
Draisaitl's going off. Yeah, he's going off.
McDavid's turned into more like an assist guy. He still has a ton of points, but he's not putting up the numbers he did last year. That's true. I mean, he's still top 5 no, he's still top 10. But
I still don't know how they made it to the finals with Skinner and goal.
I guess it's just he just got hot, I guess, and
they're favored. I saw the odds the other day to kind of make it to the finals from the West, but I mean, Skinner, I watched when they played Buffalo, and he kicked out the most egregious rebound, and they lost that game 3-2, so they didn't even get a point out of that, the Oilers. And I don't know, I think they're 3-7 in their last 10. And
yeah, no, they've been on a slide. And I know that game, was it last week or when they were up on Dallas 5-1, and then Dallas came back and it was 5-4. I mean, Oilers won, but it's
Stewart's definitely leaky, and I don't think Kane's going to come back because that's a guy who killed the Kings.
He's not. Or it doesn't sound like he is.
Definitely not for the regular season. Maybe the playoffs. I don't know. But there was that one. Was it last year or the year before where he
It was
had
the
7
season before.
goals?
Yeah.
He had 7 goals against the Kings in that series. I mean, he
Mm-hmm.
killed. So if he can't play and Skinner's still leaking, and if they can get home ice, maybe they could do it this time. If they could get up 2-0 on them before they even take it back to Edmonton, I don't know. But
That'd be big.
Kemper's going to have to do kind of the kind of stuff he did last night. And,
Yeah.
Rich, I mean, he's really fallen off, man.
Yeah, that's a huge problem, right? And then if Kemper is not, because he's been really good, if he just turns into average all of a sudden, then
Well, that's what, I mean, I've been worried about his, his workload and stuff.
yeah, no, that's
Is he going to be in the shape he needs to be in for the playoffs?
yeah, and he's been injured twice this season, like
But I
going
mean,
down the stretch, you want him to be.
would definitely be the best goalie that they've had probably going into this series with the Oilers, probably. Because Corpusalo, he
Yeah.
wasn't very good in that series. But to the point, Riddick's been so leaky that people have been like wondering, hey, what's Phoenix Copley doing?
Yeah, no, right?
And I don't know if that's the answer. I mean Eric Portillo, with the rain, he's injured.
Yeah.
And he had that one game against the Ducks, he looked really good, but he's had like one game in the NHL. I don't know if you want to roll with him as a backup in the playoffs.
Yeah, and when was the last time Copley played that game in the NHL?
Well, yeah,
it's been like
in the NHL all this year. So when he came in, he saved the Kings that one season.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's a huge question mark, which is why you almost wonder why they didn't maybe try to trade for a goalie or something.
Yeah, I mean,
they won the Stanley Cup with Avs, so he's got that experience going for him, and he's just been so good. I mean,
no, he's been good, and if he stays healthy and if he keeps the, his save percentage what it has been, I mean, they should be.
There's nothing you can't ask for more than that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
they just have to find a way to get it done. Not get torched on the power play like last season. And we'll have to see. I mean, Fogel's been so good.
Yeah, Fogel's been so good. I really like him. And, Moore's looking like his old self.
Yeah, I mean, that would almost be like you made a trade at the deadline if you got like, last year's version of Moore cooking.
Mm-hmm.
That would be, and he still got 4 or 5 weeks, but yeah, he's looking a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And he's kind of taking the puck
better too.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, really, when all the lines are working, they have enough probably to, even though they don't have like a 1-2 punch of like McDavid, Draisaitl. Not very many teams do. But, a lot of the contenders, they'll have like 3 studs.
Mm-hmm.
I guess getting Kopi together would be. He's doing a little better.
Yeah, he looked a little better. I mean, he looked bad for a while. I mean, like,
maybe figure out how to win some faceoffs, because in the dot they've been.
Yeah, and they were really bad last night. And I guess Islanders are the best in the league in the faceoff circle, but man, they got.
But that'll catch up with you in a 7-game series if you're just like repeating winning faceoffs in your own zone.
And I don't know the numbers, but it seems like Byfield's line got way more minutes than Kopitar's last night.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at time on ice, I mean, it's almost he's almost becoming like the number 1 center, I guess. Which that's what was supposed to happen. I mean, that's why he was drafted, right?
Yeah.
For that very reason. If he can play those minutes, and if he can give Kopi a bit of a rest,
yeah, because I think he needs the
rest.
It's
like a win-win. And it should be the same thing with Doughty. They should figure out how to give him fewer minutes, because he's also it's got like a lot of mileage.
That was the other funny thing from that mic'd up thing is it was like he was either talking to the linesman, or one of the linesmen, or the ref, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't have my young legs anymore, the legs I used to," and that was like 5 years ago.
That would be so funny if they just that'd be the greatest night of hockey if they just mic'd everyone for one night.
Yeah,
everyone's mic'd. All the coaches.
I love listening.
Every player's mic'd. The refs are mic'd, because I guess they'd all be talking over each other. But let's see, that would be awesome entertainment.
Yeah,
One night only. Everybody's mic'd.
The ref said something to him too about, hey, your mic. Or he said something like, he stops him and he's like, what'd you stop me for? And he's like, because you're mic'd and you're saying fuck way too much.
I like the league was like telling the refs like, hey, make sure these guys aren't cussing too much.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious. You should check it out.
There's kids watching this, hey? Cool. Well, I think we about covered it.
I think so.
I have to see, got the Caps coming in. Ovechkin's like 9 goals away from passing Gretzky.
Yeah, I'm glad I was thinking about that too.
Probably going to do it this year, right? I mean, can he score?
Yeah.
He can score 9 goals in the rest of the season easily, right?
Oh yeah, he will. And I'm glad he's still like 9 away because I was thinking like, what a demoralizing thing it would be if he broke it in LA, against the Kings. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the team wouldn't care, but I'd be like, oh man, that's not good.
So you're sure he can't score 9 goals against the Kings? I'm not sure. If they play like they played against the Islanders, I mean, anything's possible because they took 8 that would be 8 power plays for the Caps. I mean, that could be 8 Ovechkin goals.
Yeah, can you imagine if that happened? What that would do to your psyche as a team?
Not 1, not 2, but 3 hat tricks.
Triple hat trick.
Triple hat trick. Oh man, that would be incredible.
I think there's been 3 hat tricks in a game before. Well, I know there has by 3 different players, but a guy getting 3 hat tricks in one game, that would be pretty awesome.
That would definitely be breaking the record in style. Well, as per usual, go Kings go.
Go Kings go.